Welcome everyone, it's Cannabis News. I'm your host Joe Klare. It's March 2nd, 2020. Show as always, of course, is presented to you by the Marijuana Times. Find us at marijuanatimes.org. Today, we're talking about the Vermont House approving marijuana sales for adult use. Also, the man revolutionizing marijuana entrepreneurism and capitalization and stuff like that in the marijuana industry. Also, Utah's first pharmacy, aka medical marijuana dispensary, opening up in Salt Lake City. All of that coming up. But first, of course, Cannabis News is brought to you by Natureside, nature-side.com, and their organic, all-natural pesticides grow safe and poison-free with Natureside. Don't use harmful chemicals or banned pesticides. Use instead Natureside. Nature-side.com, a proud sponsor of Cannabis News. Thank you, Natureside, for continuing to be awesome. This first story by Julia Granowitz of marijuanatimes.org. Vermont House approves legislation to regulate and tax cannabis sales. A bill aiming to legalize commercial cultivation and the sale of cannabis in Vermont was passed last week by the last of several House committees. Yesterday, which would be the 26th, because this was on the 27th. I don't know when it was. It was late last month. It was finally considered by the entire House, which voted 90 to 54 in favor of passing S54 and bringing the state one step closer to full legalization. The main purpose of S54, which was approved by the Senate near the end of 2019, is to create a legal and regulated market that will provide safe access to reliable, tested cannabis products while ensuring no one under the age of 21 is allowed to access the plant. It also creates categories of business licenses as well as a 3-member cannabis control board to regulate the market and award said licenses. According to the timeline set forth in the bill, legal sales would start as soon as February of 2022 for existing medical marijuana dispensaries and July 2022 for new businesses. We tax the plant at 14%. There's other amendments made to it to appease the governor and some of the guideposts he put forth on what he would accept and what he would sign when it comes to legalized sales. Of course, Vermont has had possession and illegal growing for quite some time, a couple years now, and now they're working on the sales part of legalization. These things usually come at the same time, but Vermont has split them up, becoming the first state, as Julia points out, to legalize marijuana possession for adult use through the legislature. So things moving along in Vermont. This next story comes to us from Forbes. Meet the man revolutionizing marijuana investing. Now, I have not heard this man's name spoken. It's Seke. I'm going with Seke. If that is incorrect, I'm sorry. And every time I say Seke, if you know how it is correctly pronounced, then please insert that in your head where I mispronounce it. That way we can work together to form a coherent whole. But I think I'm right. Seke Ballard. He's the founder and CEO of Good Tree Capital, which is a financial technology firm that grants loans to vetted licensed cannabis companies. It allows people to invest in these loans as a way of using their funds to help out entrepreneurs and earn interest in the process by using an innovative approach to evaluating credit risk. This Harvard Business School grad and his company are revolutionizing the way we all can invest in marijuana. Seke is passionate about the role of capital in the creation of wealth and economic development. I was taught by my father from an early age that the only true wealth was creating my own business, he said. He was also fascinated by the history of black-owned banks and how discrimination in capital distribution has led to an extraordinary racial wealth gap. He recently got lost in a, quote, nerd rabbit hole, end quote, after reading an Atlantic article about the serious decline of black-owned banks after the Great Recession. After doing research, Seke realized that many of the remaining black banks were on the brink of failure because of the health of their loan portfolios. This industry is ripe for disruption, he said. My motivation is to build a better mousetrap. He aimed to build a model that moved capital more efficiently. It can take 4 to 6 months for an SBA loan applicant to fill out paper forms, gather supporting documents, submit the information, and get a response from a loan officer. Said all things being equal, people of color are 2 times more likely to get denied for a loan than pay higher interest rates, he said. Our lending model avoids this sort of bias by evaluating applicants based exclusively on their financial and operating data. When he fed the loan data back through his new algorithm that he created and his company created, the technology got the decision to approve or deny financing right 98.2% of the time. It felt like we struck gold. Seke said we built technology that can do what human loan officers are doing, only much better. You can read the full story. It's a pretty long story. Now I've lost internet in this computer, so I don't have my last story. So bear with me while I try to regain that. It's very annoying. This laptop, it's an older laptop, and it loses connection with the Wi-Fi, and it's very, very annoying. Anyway, if you want to check out that story from Forbes, it's linked in the description of this video, of course, as are all stories that we talk about. It's fairly interesting, especially if you're interested in the business side, the capital side of, or even the entrepreneurship side of the cannabis industry. I'm trying to get my Utah pharmacy story to pull up. Now, I could go through the trouble every show of going through these stories like many people do for radio shows or whatever and print up the stories, but I'm not going to kill trees, okay? It's not that I'm lazy and don't want to do that, and that's also an old printer, and it might not work sometimes, but then I also am very environmentally conscious of what's going on, and that's why I don't want to print up every story. But in all honesty, it seems like a waste just to print out a big paper and then read it and then throw it in the garbage. It's very annoying when I can just bring it up on this laptop, and it's really a great system except for times like right now when it will not inexplicably connect to the Wi-Fi that's right there. It's like a foot and a half. It's a foot and a half. I hardwired this computer, the broadcasting and recording computer, but no, it's not going to give it to me. So I'm going to move on. I'm going to go from memory. Utah's first marijuana pharmacy opens in Salt Lake City. Basically, there's going to be a total of 15 pharmacies, medical marijuana dispensaries, that would be better known as in Utah. And the first one opened up recently in Salt Lake City. It's, as you can imagine, it's quite restrictive. And they said so far there's only a handful of patients. Only about 300 have applied for medical marijuana cards in Utah as of yet. So, as I said, you can imagine how restrictive and how slow going things are going to be in Utah. But they have medical marijuana. I mean, that's a big deal. You know, I mean, it didn't seem like a big deal to a lot of people because so many states do. But a state like Utah, not only having that discussion, but passing something and at least having some semblance of a medical marijuana program is impressive. You know, all these things happen incrementally. You know, they happen all over in different spots of the country, and there's different paces, I guess, to how far things go, but they all have one thing in common. They all move in steps. You got to go step by step. Maybe the first step is decriminalization. Maybe in some places it's medical marijuana, but you go forward in that direction. They're not going to wake up tomorrow in Utah and say, hey, adult use marijuana, yeah, that sounds good. Let's do that. No. You got to start smaller, and it sucks. I know because what it comes down to is you're begging strangers to allow you the medical choice of marijuana, and that's awful. That's an awful thing to have to do, to have to go through. It's awful to have to go through all these steps, but it is what it is. I mean, it has to be done. There's no other way that it's going to get done, because your only other option is to sit and wait and do nothing, and I mean, really, what's that going to accomplish? Is nothing. Absolutely nothing. So anyway, you know what? Laptop, don't even bother. I'm sitting there the whole time I'm talking. I'm trying to bring up this story. I don't need it. I did fine on my own. I did just fine on my own. So screw you, laptop, for letting me down. You know who doesn't let me down? You all. You share and comment and like the videos. You spread the truth about cannabis with this show, and I appreciate that. We're here doing it 5 days a week. Check us out at marijuanatimes.org. Click the video tab there. Thank you to Natureside, nature-side.com, and their organic, all-natural pesticides. That is making noise? Now it's making noise. Don't give me internet, and it's making noises during my show? That's enough of that. I've had enough of you. Going in timeout. Laptop timeout. Thanks, everybody, for checking out the show. Keep sharing, liking, all that stuff. Thanks for watching and listening today, and we'll see you next time right here on Cannabis News.